Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Simon. Welcome to another episode of The Bad Batch, episode number 13 of season 2. Not too far off the end now, and last episode was another one of those really good ones. It was a complete crosshair episode. Again, showing us the continued disintegration of the clones standing within the Empire. We got classic douchebag Imperial lieutenant who, completely hated the clones for no real reason. We got to meet one of the more interesting clones in Mayday. He had a real kind of interesting Dengar look with all the wrappings around his armor. And I thought he was a really cool character. He was essentially, a take no shit kind of clone. And it continues to impress me how they can differentiate essentially the same person over and over and over again. We keep getting different versions of the clones, even this far in to the timeline. And it was sad to see that he had to die. Literally on the base floor, he'd survived the entire trip in the freezing cold with Crosshair just to die on the platform as they arrived. It clearly snapped something within Crosshair because, I think he finally saw, and the line, of we were good soldiers, we followed orders, we didn't deserve this. That really, I think, made Crosshair just snap. Because that's been his entire mantra, is good soldiers follow orders. But if he can see for himself that following orders and being a good soldier leads you to nothing, maybe that makes him rethink things a little bit. But it's a bit late now because he is on Tantus. In the cloning facility, God knows what they're going to want to do with him there. I mean, I imagine that they want to study the, genetic defects, I think, even though I would see them as like being superior effects on his, DNA. They clearly must want to study it to see if they can determine how they could replicate it, maybe? Who knows? The cloning things going on here are crazy. But, it was just a really, really sound story. It took you on an emotional journey throughout the entire episode. And it was kind of refreshing because the episode before the episode even before that was a little bit meh, with the kind of kids in the mine kind of being, abused. It was a bit of a same old. And I think we're probably back in that territory. I think this is probably going to be more, filler, as you might call it, with the Bad Batch. Until there's something that really... I just don't know where the story is going with them. There's no real rhyme or reason to their story at the moment. It's kind of just like go off on individual missions and try and survive. If something goes wrong and they make it back. This deep into the season, I think we're starting, we would start to get some connections. The only thing I can think is that we're heading for a Sid betrayal. That's the only thing that I can really tie my mind to right now. Because they don't know anything about Crosshair, they don't have any ties into the Empire, they're all together. So unless Rex and Echo come back into it some way, who knows? But we're going to jump in, have a look, see what happens. So let's go. It's a statue of a plant.
I know it's not one of your 2-bit knockoffs.
It's a ceramic plant, but I don't know. Is it valuable? I mean, if they poison you now, it's going to be pretty stupid.
Poison is not typically my drink.
Impressive.
Oh, okay.
For a pirate.
Turns out they were going to poison her. They are stupid. What is it with people in this place? Are they stupid?
You'll have to do better than that.
Yeah, it's one of those bugs from Attack of the Clones.
You should have brought more muscle than that, Fee.
She did.
I just love the way he physically stands over everyone. Grab the money as well. Yeah. So that's another planet they need to avoid now.
She needs friends, ones her own age, and who don't share her genetic profile.
Kind of hard when you're moving around so much.
I do not see the issue. Let's hear it.
Hey, Bozo. I got a mission for you.
Remember our mutually beneficial arrangement.
Which doesn't seem to be mutually beneficial.
If you know what I mean.
Our mutually beneficial arrangement wasn't so beneficial.
That's what I said.
Mutually.
That's what I said.
Out, did you? Head to these coordinates, Brown Eyes.
How do we know she's not going to sell them out? She is a pirate. Don't think she's got a lot of loyalty.
Welcome to Pabu, my home away from
Pabu.
It's a hidden sanctuary of sorts. Miss me, Shep?
Okay. So she seems like a good person, but I'm still a bit sus.
Welcome, and
Left-handed shakes?
Fee's never brought any friends here before.
That's so
Neither.
wrong.
Not even Sid?
You'll probably hate it.
Hmm.
It'll be great.
Brown
Wait,
eyes.
Shep. I'll catch up.
She's got a thing for tech, hasn't she? Oh no. Tech is feeling things for the first time. That's very pretty.
Wait till you see it up close.
Upper Pabu is the oldest part of the island.
Do you know everyone here?
Of course.
I just got a bad feeling the Empire's going to catch up with them here. And this Pabu is going to be... Oof. Talk about a view, eh?
Not too shabby, is it?
Is she trying to convince them to be like, hey, this may be where you should stay? Give up your life of renegading and pirating? See, he's thinking right now, I can't risk
Clean slate.
the Empire finding these people. So he's definitely not going to stay.
Can ask for a better place to raise a child.
He seems to like it here. A little stability might do you all some good.
The history is just going to catch up with them. They can't stay. Maybe this is what's going to send them over the edge with Sid. Sid sells them out. Empire finds this place, destroys it. They go find Sid.
I am never full. I will note the date and time to
It's like fruit sushi. Oh, there's more.
Room for dessert.
But it didn't feel like this place. Why'd you leave? The Empire.
It's kind of like being on a beach in northern Scotland compared to a beach in the Mediterranean.
You and your friends can stay as long as you want.
Things are just going too well. It's too idyllic.
Just a tremor. It's no big deal.
I'm not so sure.
Are you sure? Yeah. But let's head in.
Yes,
Just to be safe.
good idea. Tsunamis could be coming. Look at the water effects, man.
Omega, come in.
That's so good.
Things are okay.
If we were at risk, the early warning system would have activated.
There it is.
The sound of that.
What's the chances that, you know, they turn up and the first time in 3 decades a tsunami hits?
The water has already begun receding. You four, move everyone in town to
Well, they're saying that. I mean, being on the water is probably better than being on the lower part of the island. Oh, this is going to be a big one. That is an easy pickup if you just go in the Marauder.
Hannah, wake up!
Just give him a quick signal.
Wake up!
Hunter, can you pick us up in the Marauder? Flies down, picks him up. Problem solved. Clever.
hang on.
Oh, look at that. He's got a lady around the waist.
This way!
Climb! Yep, there you go. That was my plan exactly.
Reach the ship. Hang tight.
There we go. It's just gonna skim the edge, isn't it? Oh! Uh-oh. Come on, Maya. That's very close.
Thank the stars.
Now, the fact that he's not out of breath is probably the most unrealistic thing about this whole episode. That guy is not in shape. He should be out of breath for a good while. I speak as a larger gent. I know.
Help out with things. I had the same idea.
Okay.
But that is
Interesting.
don't mind us sticking around for a while.
I thought they would have been like, we're bad luck.
Most welcome.
So I'd describe that as an interesting episode. I mean, if you want to... It definitely serves a story purpose, because, you know, it's again trying to entice them into a life of normality. It's trying to show them that, look, you could settle down and have a nice, peaceful life in a luxurious place. You know, Tech, obviously, they're trying to tease out a romance between him and, is it Fee? And, you know, it's all, at the moment, it's all kind of false pretenses, because we know something's going to come along and cause them to have to move again. You know, they want Omega to have a normal life, settle down, have friends. But it's just interesting that, you know, this entire episode kind of, in one sense, you could say it was a little unnecessary. You know, on the other hand, you know, it definitely does serve a story purpose. So I'm a bit conflicted with it, because, you know, it's like, there's no doubt that, you know, some of the episode, there's a lot of positives to it. I mean, the place itself looks gorgeous. You know, once again, it's another example of, you know, how far we've come in terms of effects for animation. And like I say, the story elements are all there. You know, progressing the plot of each of the characters, giving us, again, that kind of idea that the Bad Batch could settle down here. But originally, again, I thought that, you know, Sid was selling them out to the Empire was going to show up and, you know, put the island at risk, and the team would be like, we can't stay, we're going to bring the whole colony down, so we have to move on. And that's their, you know, the unfortunate fact of their life at the moment is that so long as the Empire exists, they always will be at risk of having, you know, that past catch up to them and end up putting innocent people in danger. They took an interesting turn on this and decided just to make it a natural disaster. That was the drama point of the episode, and the hook that kind of keeps them there. The recovery effort is what is going to make them stay, or at least gives them the excuse to stay for, you know, a short while. And, you know, it's one of those where it's like, oh, that's awfully coincidental that for the first time in 3 decades there happens to be a sea sedge on the exact day that the Bad Batch show up. It's convenient storytelling in one way. You could say that this was as much a filler episode as anything else in terms of the unnecessary length of it. You know, you could say that you could have gotten the same effect whilst also utilising the time better. I'm not saying that's a bad thing necessarily, but it's one of those where you look at an episode and you think, could it have been utilised to a better degree? Given the amount of episodes this season that kind of have not pushed the story too much and have been real kind of filler, this episode, it's like at least it did have those elements that pushed some of the story forward. But it was like a real kind of halting episode, as it were. And, you know, still only getting small hints as to where the end of the season might go. Again, my overall prediction is still Sid turns them into the Empire. The Empire shows up, probably is going to kill a bunch of these islanders. That leads the group to have to go and take out Sid because they know Sid is going to be a problem for them. That's my prevailing theory right now. I don't quite know if it's going to tie into Crosshair. I don't think so. I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see Crosshair again this season. I'm not sure if there's been a third season commissioned for The Bad Batch. I really hope there is, because, I mean, like, this is a really good show. And I think people are missing out if they're not watching it, because it is, again, the character development is great. You know, it's showing you outcasts and how they're adapting to life, and, you know, being, in a way, being a father. How would you cope, you know, having to take your child constantly on the run and putting her in danger constantly? And now that they have that chance to kind of settle down, you know, how do you deal with all of that? Would they consider leaving Omega behind if they did have to move on? Because that's definitely a possibility. Omega on her own could easily blend into any society. It's when they're all together that's where, you know, they start to raise suspicions. So that could be a possibility that I see, you know, the unfortunate, you know, kind of emotional tearing apart of Hunter and Omega and the rest of the Bad Batch. But interesting they chose Tech to be the one to have the love interest, or at least that's what they're teasing right now. But I guess it makes sense, you know, Hunter is a bit too obvious. Wrecker is, I guess, not emotionally mature enough for a kind of relationship that's going to pay off on screen. Not to say he can't have one, but it's not going to be very deep. But Tech, you know, being the kind of person that he is, very hard, you know, he's going to be that kind of person who will struggle to make friends, will struggle to kind of form a romantic relationship, I think, because of the way, you know, obviously that his brain works. So, you know, I like the fact that they're focusing on him with that. Echo probably would have been saying that Echo is very much a machine, so the physical side of it, I guess that could have made an interesting kind of romance story. Someone overcoming, you know, physical disabilities or physical problems, you know, to have a love interest. Yeah. But again, this episode, it was like, okay, when I look back on it, realistically, nothing too much really happened. There was a lot of convenience plot points, but, you know, again, the story was still pushed forward. But, you know, next episode, there's definitely something going to go wrong, because they're not staying there. And I don't think they're going to leave on their own volition at this point. Something has to push them away. So it's going to involve Sid, no doubt. But we'll just see. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. And I will see you for the next episode.